This is FIBA Podcast. Thank you for joining us in our morning daily devotion.
Friends, we continue with our study of Acts chapter 14, verses 8 to 20, the ministry at Lystra. Acts 14:19. Then Jews from Antioch and Iconium came there, and having persuaded the multitudes, they stoned Paul and dragged him out of the city, supposing him to be dead. What we're going to see here in this study is how the Jews have so sadly, very tragically, have hindered the light of God to reach the nations, and that is what we see here. Barnabas and Paul were rescuing the people of Lystra on the folly of idolatry, and they were turning them to worship the living God. The Lord's purpose was that the Jews were to be God's light to the ends of the earth. On the contrary, we see in Antioch, Pisidia, in Iconium, and in Lystra, it was the Jews who were hindering the Gentiles to come to the light. What happened in Antioch, Pisidia, Acts chapter 13, verses 45 to 48. And then we read in Acts chapter 14 and verses 1 and 2 as what happened in Iconium. Acts 14, 1 and 2. Now it happened in Iconium that they went together to the synagogue of the Jews and so spoke that a great multitude both of the Jews and of the Greeks believed. But the unbelieving Jews stirred up the Gentiles and poisoned their minds against the brethren. So the Jews were to be a unique people for God's face, because God's face would shine on them. It was because they worshipped the true God. They would cause his ways to be made known to the ends of the earth. Ultimately, the nations of the earth must worship God. This is the plan and purpose of God, that through the Jews, because God's face would shine on them, they would be the channel through whom the nations of the earth would come to know and worship God. We are reading in Psalm 67, verses 1 to 3. God be merciful to us and bless us, and cause his face to shine upon us, that your way may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. Let the peoples praise you, O God. Let all the peoples praise you. This is the plan of God for his people, the Jews. The nations will seek God because of the life of the Jews on the Jewish people. Zechariah chapter 8, verses 21 to 23. The way in which God had intended for the Jews to be. This was the prophecy for the Jews. Isaiah chapter 2, verses 2 to 5. Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. Many people shall come and say, Come, let us go to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between the nations, and rebuke many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. O house of Jacob, come, and let us walk in the light of the Lord. And that is what God's plan was. The house of Jacob were to walk in the light of the Lord. It was sad that the Jews hindered people of the nations from hearing the truth. Jealousy was one of the reasons, and we read that earlier itself, Acts chapter 13, verse 45. But when the Jews saw the multitudes, they were filled with envy, and contradicting and blaspheming, they opposed the things spoken by Paul. The Jews refused to believe the truth of the gospel. This unbelief led them to act violently against the gospel. Again, we have said this earlier, Acts chapter 14 and verse 2. The behavior of the Jews was a historical pattern. God's heart breaks over the Jews. Matthew 23, verse 37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. Ultimately, the Jews have been hindering the Gentiles from coming to to the light of God. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 14 to 16. And friends, in all of this, let's always remember, God is longing for the Jews to turn to Him. As a nation, even today, they are refusing to accept Jesus as the Messiah. But a day will come when the Jews will turn wholeheartedly as a nation to worship God and to submit to Jesus as Master, as King, and as Messiah. May the Lord bless us.
Dear listener, we are here to stand with you in your time of need. We want to pray with you and for your prayer request. Do you need someone to talk to? We are here for you. Call us or send a message at +91 636 425 2164. +91 636 425 2164. God bless you.